Welcome to Kingdom Missions Fund Live. You are about to hear inspirational stories from innovative missions that are pioneering new ways to share the good news of Jesus across the earth. Thanks in part to grants from the Kingdom Missions Fund. Today, you'll meet passionate people from all over the world that are creating smart, sustainable, and scalable strategies to advance the kingdom of God. Get ready to be inspired as we join volunteers from the Kingdom Missions Fund.
Good evening and welcome back to Kingdom Missions Fund Live. Daryl Amy here today with Paul Barber. What's going on, Paul?
Oh, Daryl, it's just good to see you, be with you this evening. I'm excited. We got Eric Soard here, the executive director of the Tanzania Wesley College Educational Foundation, longtime missionary to Tanzania and founder of Wesley College. It's just, he's got a tremendous story. This is going to be great tonight. It really
is. And, you know, one of the best things about being a part of the Kingdom Missions Fund, whether you're part of our donor group, whether you're part of the missions that receive funding from this, one of the best things is just this network of people, innovative, creative, kingdom-minded people that are out there looking for ways to reach the world, share the gospel in ways that are smart, sustainable, and scalable. And Paul, it's just so exciting seeing throughout the year, we give our grants away in the spring and seeing some of these projects start to come into place all through the year. And it's such a joy.
It really is, Daryl. You know, we partner up with these small mission groups, and they're just so strategic and just good about reaching people with the gospel and really helping people at the ground level. It's just our real privilege to come alongside them and help them with some funding and some counseling at times, just in small ways. But these ways that we can see the gospel really go, as far as we're concerned, Tanzania to the ends of the earth.
That's right. That's right. And if you want to get involved, kingdomfund.com/donate. Thank you for all of our partners who are donating. We have individuals that are donating on a monthly basis in our 50/50 club. We have corporate sponsors as well. And all together, we're able to make such a tremendous impact thanks to you. And thanks to the innovative missions partners, and we're about to introduce one here to you this evening. So let's join me in welcoming Eric Soard to the Kingdom Missions Fund Live. How's it going, Eric?
It's going well. How are you all doing tonight?
Really, really well. And I just want to say, first of all, a huge thank you on behalf of all of the donors and friends of the Kingdom Missions Fund for the work that you're doing. It's so cool seeing the vision of the college. Maybe just a great way to start would be to tell us a little bit about yourself and the college and what you're doing in Tanzania. You've had a long history there.
Yeah, we got started, my wife and I, in Tanzania in 2010, and started out as volunteers and working at an orphanage, and then moved into church planting and other types of development work, economic development, agricultural development, street children's ministry, through the local church there in Tanzania, with the goal of helping them with their ministries and build their capacities. And we got to a point where we were looking around at all of the amazing leaders that we got to work with. But the thing that kept getting in their way was their education or lack thereof, struggling to mobilize all the resources they needed, or being able to organize themselves and move forward in a systematic way. And so that's really where Wesley College came from. It's a faith-based college, based in many ways around a community college model here in the U.S., where we work to make sure that education is accessible. A lot of our students are not people that would have ever thought that college education was on their horizon. We also work to make sure education is practical and skills-based, so that they can take what we do and what we're teaching and immediately apply it after graduation. We want to make sure our education is entrepreneurial. Kingdom Mission Fund has been a great partner in that you all understand what we're trying to do. and creating an entrepreneurial mindset with our students that they can take on the challenges of their communities in innovative ways, and create servant leaders that are going to go out and serve their communities. And that's what we were doing before Wesley College, but on a small scale. In a one, we were going one person by one person, one village by one village.
Yeah.
And what Wesley College has allowed us to do is train dozens. Right now we have almost 200 students, and be able to train a multitude of leaders all at once. And watching that dream unfold over the last 5 years has just been amazing.
Yeah. Eric, could you tell us some of the programs that are available at Wesley College for some of these students? What are they? What are you primarily training them in at this time?
Absolutely. We started off with theology, and we do train pastors. We also train community development workers. We train business people in our business program. And we also provide a GED. As I said, we want to make it accessible. So if step one is finishing high school for you, you can do that at Wesley College before you enroll in one of these other courses.
That's so smart. And I love first of all, the heart behind this is incredible. And just seeing the scale already of this with that many students, it's so beautiful to see. And how long has college been around? Now,
we started in 2017.
17. Okay, cool. That's amazing. Incredible traction so quickly on all of that. And I know when you came to the Kingdom Missions Fund, you had a specific project in mind that we thought was really, really innovative. Share with us a little bit about that project and where the idea came from.
Absolutely. So this year, the project the Kingdom Mission Fund is funding for us is the creation of a recording studio at Wesley College, which sounds really simple, right? You just buy the equipment, you put it in a room, you get everything set up, and you're good to go. It's a little
As
more
evidenced by our call tonight, just putting this together, I'm assuming a recording studio is not very simple.
So not as simple as that.
Right.
Technology, for one, in developing countries is always more complicated than it has to be, or than it necessarily should be. Getting the equipment, a lot of what we purchased with this grant and have installed, I had to carry over with me in this summer when I went to Tanzania. And so just getting it set up. But the real purpose behind this was to allow us to offer distance education at Wesley College. We really do want to be an accessible institution that removes as many barriers as possible to community leaders for them to get the education that they need. And we have people who want to come to Wesley College, but they're already working a full-time job. They can't afford to leave that source of income for their families. We have female pastors, or women that are called to be pastors or called to be community developers or business leaders who already have a family and family responsibilities. And so this recording studio allows us to record our curriculum, helps us distribute our curriculum. We're working towards an online educational program. And it'll probably be a little bit of a hybrid model as we ease into it, but it really creates that opportunity for people who otherwise could not access education to get access to education. And it does it, and this is really important for us, it does it in a way that is not just equitable to our students, but also equitable to our staff. So many people in Tanzania that I know who have not been able to take time off of work or take time away from family to pursue an education end up enrolling in online classes, usually in a Western country, in the US or in Europe, because our local contextual indigenous instructors and professors don't have the technology and capability. And so not only does this provide a new opportunity for our students, it's a new opportunity for our professors to really get their voices and their teaching and their experience out into the online space, sometimes for the first time. And so it really creates this opportunity to be innovative in missions and to be that authoritative voice in a much bigger platform than was previously possible.
Yeah, Eric, that's great to hear. Do you have any use of war stories about graduates that have come through Wesley College already and they're out there? Can you give a couple examples of that?
Absolutely. Vincent's kind of one of what I call our poster children. Only because
is he on the poster?
He may actually. I think he is on the poster.
He is actually on the poster.
I think he is actually on the poster. He just because his story lines up so well with what it is we wanted to do from the very beginning, all the way through the end for all of our students. And so when Vincent was 15 years old, he lost his father. His father passed away. And which is a huge tragedy. And when he talks about it, he says, it was really one of the pillars of my life just crumbling. Because not only was that how I looked to, Vincent's the oldest of 5 siblings, but also that's who was providing for his education. When Vincent was in high school at that time, high school was not free. You had to pay for it in Tanzania. It's now free, has become free since then. And so there was no one to pay for his studies. He had to drop out of school. There was nobody to support his family. He had to pick up that burden of supporting his family. His mother has several chronic health conditions that keeps her from holding down a steady full-time job. So at 15 years old, he starts fishing, which may sound great and relaxing, but it's not that kind of fishing. He's like many small fishermen on Lake Victoria. He's in a small reed boat, and they go out all night long, put their nets out. They bring their nets in early in the morning. They have to clean everything and sell their catch for the day and do some odd jobs around the house. And then they're back out at night. And they're doing this 6 to 7 nights a week, all year long. And he was dedicated. And so through that, he was able to actually get some land and help his family build a house and get them away from having to rent and put his family in a better financial situation. But he really, in many ways, thought that was going to be the rest of his life. Mm-hmm. And then about 4 to 5 years into this, his pastor was talking to him one day and mentioned Wesley College and the opportunity to study there. And Vincent was like, I don't have a high school education. I can't pay for college. You're joking. This is not a serious opportunity for me. And his pastor said, no, they will help you with the high school education, and they can provide scholarships. And his pastor had recommended he study theology. He noticed Vincent and his mother, even though they had many of their own challenges, had helped start this church. Were some of the founding members of this new church plant. And Vincent was leading services and helping with the kids ministry. And so his pastor recommended him to Wesley College. And so we got his application, got his pastor's endorsement and recommendation. We was able to get a scholarship and got his GED and got his diploma, GED equivalent, and got his diploma in theology. And that in and of itself, even if that was it, even if that was the only thing that happened, it would be a great story. To have somebody who spent years fishing on the lake every single night to support his family got to finish his education.
Right.
But he went back to his village, and right now, as we speak, he graduated in 2020. He is supporting his family. He is now helping pastor that church that recommended him for education. And in his spare time, between holding down a full-time job and a ministry, he is teaching widows in his community how to start small businesses, something that he learned at Wesley College. Wow. Because he doesn't want other families to be where he was at 15 years old. He doesn't want their kids to have to drop out of school. He doesn't want these widows to have to give up their livelihood or their homes just because the husband passed away or the father passed away. And so in his spare time, he's taking an opportunity to teach and to train others based on what he learned. So like I said, just really somebody who understood the blessing that they received and took what they had learned and what they had gained to be able to pass that blessing on to others. And that's absolutely what Wesley College is all about.
Totally beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. I'm curious. What's next?
Yeah. What does the future hold for Wesley College, or what is your vision maybe for the next 3 to 5 years or even longer, Eric?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, while we are very much grounded in the present, we do hope to become an institution that's around for as long as we need to be. But our focus is really in taking what we're already doing, educating students, and doing it better and being able to accommodate more. So one of the programs that we're currently working on is trying to find a way to get into rural communities and help parents and potential students to understand that they can have a college education. Tanzania is a young country. Tanzania is the 10th youngest country population-wise in the entire world.
Wow.
So we have 60 million people. Out of 60 million people, over 50% of them are under the age of 25.
Wow.
And so it's just a huge opportunity for colleges and for educational institutions. But 70% of the country also lives in poverty. 20% of the country lives in absolute poverty, which is less than $1 a day. 70% of the country lives in poverty, which is less than $2 a day. And so a lot of those rural and 75% of the country are still living in rural areas. Mm-hmm. We've not seen the massive urbanization that some other African countries have seen. Mm-hmm. So because of that, a lot of people who need the type of education we're providing don't even know it's available. And so one of the programs we're working on is how do we get into rural areas? How do we get into villages and help them understand that college is for them, and that not only is college for them, but the type of education that we provide is going to be immediately applicable to what it is that they are trying to do. And there's multiple ways to get it. So it's not just limited to coming and sitting and staying on campus, right. But that there are multiple platforms which you can access education. Even though most of Tanzania is rural, we have over 15 million smartphone users in Tanzania. And so while it is a rural place and while there is a lot of poverty, at the same time, there's these technological leaps that make innovative forms of education and missions possible in our context.
That's amazing. I'm just curious, as you think about just Tanzania and the African continent in general, and you've spent a lot of time there and have an incredible amount of insight, where do you see the challenges and opportunities as we look forward into the next decade?
Yeah, I think that the challenges are still resource based, but it's as much human resource as anything else. Tanzania is a resource-rich country, as many countries in Africa are. We have farmland that is not getting currently utilized. Tanzania is the fourth largest producer of gold in Africa. You can mine uranium. There's gas deposits. There are opportunities for employment and for business that are not currently getting taken advantage of. And for the church, it's a predominantly Muslim country. So Christians only make up 30% of the population in Tanzania. And there are a lot of opportunities to grow and expand the church, especially if you look at the youth movement and what youth missions could look like in Tanzania over the next generation and decade.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
But we do have a human resource challenge. One of the things that we really focus on at Wesley College is entrepreneurial education. And that's not education to start a business, though we do that. It's the idea that people need to have a better grasp and understanding of mobilizing resources to meet problems and challenges. For us, that's really what entrepreneurial education is about, is how can you take your financial resources, your community resources, your natural resources, your skills and knowledge, and mobilize that to meet a challenge or need, whether it's in your family, in your neighborhood, in your community, in your church, in your business, and having the mindset that you have agency and you have the ability to act and to affect change. And I think that's one of the challenges is having the leaders and the people who have that type of vision to mobilize what is there, even if it means small steps.
Yeah.
So I think that's the challenge, and it's the opportunity. Once you start getting those leaders mobilized to take small steps, then a lot of things are possible. Give a short kind of small example. We one of the churches that I planted early on in our ministry encountered they were renting a small building that they worshiped in, and the pastor got there early one day and they encountered street children sleeping in front of the building that they were renting. And so they were rolling up mattresses and blankets when the pastor arrived. So they started talking to him, and this was back in like 2013. And the next year, over the next year, they just started feeding the kids on Sunday mornings. So it wasn't a big church, didn't have a lot of resources, but they could provide basic breakfast on Sunday mornings. And so the kids started coming to the church because they knew that they would get breakfast at least once a week. And so they started talking to them and building these conversations. And from that, they started then some volunteers, unpaid, taking a day a week when they were off of their other jobs. And they would visit the kids either where they were living, on the streets, in a dump for a few of them, in different places, trash dump. And then also starting to talk to them about their families. And they found out some of their families lived close by. So they would visit the families and they would find out what the problem was. Why did they run away from home, or why were they kicked out? And they would start putting them together and reconciling them and reuniting them. And this project started to grow. And by the time that they had reunited about 30, 40 kids, gotten them off the streets, they're like, this is getting to be a lot. They hired their first person. So they'd already gotten 30, 40 kids off the streets before they ever hired a single staff member. So they hired a staff member, and the work continued to grow. And they're about ready. They're a few months out from opening their first actual home. They started this ministry called Our Father's House, and it's had the name Our Father's House for like 5 years now, and there's no actual house involved, which was confusing to people.
Right.
But the idea is that God's home is bigger, bigger than ours. And so they're about to open a transitional home, not an orphanage, a transitional home where they can keep street children for 3 to 4 months, reacclimate them to living within parameters. Because one of the hardest things about going home for street children is you go from a lot of freedom to very strict rules.
Oh, yeah.
So while things are being provided, taken care of, but you're also in conflict with the adults. So this is a transitional home to get them ready to go back and live with their families, with the idea that we don't want to see kids ending up in institutional care.
Right.
And so all of this, all of it happened incrementally. This is a group of local church leaders who were like, we can feed people and then we can talk to families. And now it's grown over 5 to 6 years to a transitional home. And if this was an American controlled ministry, step one would have been, let's build an orphanage, because that's what we know. But the local people there have found local solutions that work for them, that work for their community. And it was slow, but it came about because they had the right skills at the right time to take the next steps. And I know about it because we have some Wesley College students that are now volunteering there. They're from that community. They have their diplomas in community development. They're now back volunteering at this ministry. So, so that's really the opportunity that's available and in front of us, is if we can educate people, they will find their own solutions. And there are those opportunities available. We just need to make sure we're providing the tools.
Oh, that's so cool. One of our friends and partners, Mike Grober, has a question. What do typical graduates do upon completion of their course of study?
I don't know is that we have a typical graduate from that perspective. Some of them do go on for further education. We do cut off kind of like associate's degree level, equivalent of associate's degree level. So some of them go for their bachelor's degree. Many of them will end up volunteering in a ministry or starting a small business before they launch their career. It typically takes 24 months for a college graduate in Tanzania to get their first formal job. And we've only been around for 5 years, and we've only had graduates the last 2 to 3. So we do have some graduates that have been placed in formal organizations, community development organizations for the most part. We do have several graduates that have been ordained and appointed to churches and are now working in churches or have planted churches. But many of our students are still volunteering in organizations or have started small businesses, waiting for that next opportunity, but not wasting their time, still doing good work while they're moving ahead.
Fantastic. Eric, what an inspiration. This is so cool, just seeing what you're doing, how you're doing it in a way that is really just smart. It's everything that we talk about at the Kingdom Missions Fund, right? Smart, sustainable, and scalable. It's so beautiful.
Eric, just in closing, we do have a number of mission partners around the world that tune into this and are carrying out their own individual ministries. You've been on the field have been on the field for quite some time, starting this college, but just for small 501c3 missions out there, but that are based in these small countries, what advice would you have for just a small mission organization, maybe kind of coming off this COVID, and what would be some thoughts you might have that would be helpful to some of our mission partners as they try to take their ministry forward?
I would say it's all about building relationships and continuing to learn. So we can never think that we have the answer, and we can never think that we've reached our final stage of ministry. And so I think that we've gone through many waves of missions, and for a long time, everything was going from developed countries and the Western world, to the Southern Hemisphere or to developing countries. And now everything's moving back and forth. And we're learning and we're teaching, which is awesome. But there's that same opportunity for those small nonprofits in developing countries and in impoverished contexts. So if you've got an internet signal and you've got a smartphone and you have access to YouTube, you can learn. If you have access to WhatsApp, you can network. If you have access to social media, you can network. And so my biggest thing is build relationships, network, be part of conversations, put yourself into the middle of conversations where you may be the expert, but put yourself into the middle of conversations where you might not be the expert, and you can learn from others. And as we continue to do that, then we'll all improve and we'll all get better. And we'll, most importantly of all, we'll all grow in our ability to serve God's kingdom, as long as we stay in communication and in relationship together.
So well said, Eric. Thank you so much for sharing time, and thank you for all that you are and all that you're doing. It's so inspiring.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, Paul, what an incredible conversation. It's just so cool seeing when I love what Eric was talking about, just fostering the entrepreneurial spirit. And, this has been a huge part of the Kingdom Missions Fund, is thinking, what can we do to be innovative and think outside the proverbial box to solve some of these problems. And look at the opportunity in Tanzania with 50% of the population under 25 and figuring out a way to scale out education. So beautiful.
Yeah, there's just nothing but opportunity out there, Daryl. And but these people, they need education, they need technology, they need capital resources. But I think what Eric said there too, we don't come in with all the ideas. The people there kind of know what needs to happen. They just need some help in some very specific areas. And if we come alongside and do that, and then kind of get back and let them proceed with the way that they know how to get those things done, it can be a beautiful partnership. And we just see this around the world with some of our mission partners that are going in, providing that help, and then getting people on their feet to love Jesus more and to work, quite frankly, work out of some impoverished situations they may find themselves in.
Just beautiful, beautiful. Well, everybody, we just want to say a sincere thank you as this is being broadcast in early October. If you've got a missions project that you're working on, or you know someone is working on that is smart, sustainable, scalable, we'd love to hear from you. Go to kingdomfund.com and click on Get Funding. We're in the process right now this fall of evaluating projects to fund in January, in the early part of the new year. So it's a really exciting time here at the Kingdom Missions Fund. And if you'd like to get involved, you go, wow, Daryl, Paul, this is really cool. We'd love to hear from you as well. Of course, we love and are so grateful for all of our partners who donate on a monthly basis or on an annual basis. Either way, we're so thankful for that. And we're thankful for all the volunteers as well. And if this is looking like, wow, I'd like to get involved with this, we'd love to hear from you as well. It'll put you on the forefront of interacting with some of the coolest missions all across the earth, fulfilling the mission of Jesus to bring the good news to everybody who needs it. Paul, what a great time tonight.
It was great, wasn't it, Daryl?
Yeah, it's just such a joy. And once again, as we sign off, thank you to everybody. We love you. We appreciate you. And have a super evening.
God bless you.
Thank you for joining us today for Kingdom Missions Fund Live. We hope you have been inspired by the passionate people and innovative ideas we've shared today. None of this is possible without generous donations from people like you. To learn more about becoming a supporter of the Kingdom Missions Fund, visit www.kingdomfund.com. Together, we are making a difference.